In any project, whether you're building an app or just planning a big event, the absolute hardest part is just knowing where you really stand. Are we on track? Are we in trouble? Well, today we're going to explore a brilliantly simple, visual way to cut right through all that fog.
I mean, think about it. Have you ever been in a meeting where someone says, "Oh yeah, we're about 80% done," but you've got that gut feeling that something's not quite right? How do you get past those vague feelings and get to the actual facts without drowning in spreadsheets and status reports?
Well, the answer is to make your project's progress so visible, so obvious that nobody can ignore it. And there's a really powerful concept for doing just that.
Okay, so the official term for this, coming straight from the Project Management Body of Knowledge, or the PMBOK Guide, is an information radiator. I know, it sounds a little technical, right? But the idea is incredibly simple. Just put the most important project info up on a wall or a shared screen where absolutely everyone can see it at a glance. It's all about being low-tech and high-touch.
The whole point is to create one single source of truth that just radiates information out to the team. And two of the most powerful, most common types of these information radiators are called burn charts. So let's break them down.
All right, let's start with the burndown chart. The easiest way to wrap your head around this one is to think of it like a countdown clock for all the work you have to do.
So what is it exactly? It's a chart that shows the amount of work remaining over a period of time. The vertical axis shows how much is left. You might measure it in hours or story points, and the horizontal axis is just time. It's 100% focused on what's left to do.
And visually, your mission could not be simpler. You want to see that line go down, down, down until it hits that beautiful zero right on your deadline. You are literally burning down the list of remaining tasks. Now, this is where the story gets really interesting. See that straight, diagonal line? That's your ideal project. That's the dream world where nothing ever goes wrong. But that bumpy line? That's reality. That's your team hitting a roadblock, or maybe a task just takes way longer than anyone thought. And if your actual line is floating way up above that ideal line, that's not a guess. That's a crystal clear warning sign that you're falling behind. So most of the time you're using this to see if you'll finish on schedule. But here's a really cool trick. You can use this exact same idea to track risk. Instead of work, the vertical axis just becomes risk exposure. And as your team takes care of those risks, you get to watch that risk level burn down to something much more manageable. Okay, on to our second tool. This one paints a different, but just as important picture. If the burn down is all about the countdown, the burn up is about the build up. This chart is different because it's not tracking one thing, it's tracking two. It shows you the total amount of work your team has completed over time, and it plots the total amount of work in the project as a completely separate line. So you have these two lines that tell the whole story. That bottom line shows everything your team is actually finished. It should always be climbing up, and that top line, that's your finish line. That's the total scope of the project. In a nice, healthy project, you'll see that bottom completed line steadily climbing up to meet the top scope line. That space between them, that's just the work you have left to do. Success is when those two lines finally meet. But the burn-up chart has a superpower that the burn-down just doesn't. Okay, watch this. Let's say a stakeholder adds just one small but essential new feature right in the middle of the project. Boom. See that? The top line, the total scope, just jumped higher. And that right there is what scope creep actually looks like. It's not some vague complaint anymore. It's a visible, measurable thing that just pushed your finish line further away.
Now, these charts aren't just report cards on what's already happened. Their real magic is in helping you predict the future. To do that, we got to talk about a little concept called velocity. And all that means is, how fast is your team actually getting work done and accepted? On that burn-up chart, the steepness of the work completed line is your team's velocity. The steeper the line, the faster they're moving. So once you know your team's average speed, you can just extend that line out into the future. And where does that trend line hit the total scope line? Well, that's your new data-driven forecast for when the project will actually be finished. It's not a wild guess, it's a projection based on how your team is really performing.
And this really gets to the most important point of all, which is captured perfectly in this quote from the PMBOK Guide. The real power here isn't just looking at the data. It's the conversations the data starts. It forces the whole team to look at it and ask, okay, based on this forecast, do we need to cut some features, get more help, or change the deadline?
So let's bring it all home. Why are these simple charts so much more powerful than a 50-page status report?
It really boils down to three huge wins. First, you get total transparency.
Everyone, from the big boss to the brand new intern, sees the exact same picture. Second, they are an incredible early warning system. You can spot things going off track long before they turn into a full-blown crisis. And finally, they create shared ownership. It's not just the manager's problem anymore, it's our chart, and we all need to figure out how to get that line back on track.
At the end of the day, that's what Burnup and Burndown Charts do so well. They take all this complex, messy project data and turn it into one simple shared story. A story that your entire team and all your stakeholders can actually understand, talk about, and most importantly, do something about.
So, the next time you're working on a project, just think about this. What important conversations aren't happening simply because the data is hidden away? And what could your team really, truly achieve if your progress, your problems, and your path to the finish line with this brilliantly, undeniably clear?